Hey, welcome back to my kitchen. I remember my grandmother telling me that the butter nowadays does not have any flavor and taste. And I never understood what Granny was talking about. That is not at least not until I took a trip to northern Michigan and I saw cultured butter in the grocery store. And it was really expensive. It's about $6 for 2 sticks of butter. And so I said to myself, maybe let me taste this butter. Maybe it'll have the flavor Granny always talked about. And so when I tell you that that was the best butter ever, essentially, back on the farm, butter was made from raw milk, which still had the good bacteria and enzymes in the milk. And they would let the milk clabber. My grandmother said butter was made from clabbered milk, which essentially is fermented milk. And that's what gave the butter back then its rich, full, buttery flavor. The fact that the milk had fermented. And so you can buy cultured butter in the store now. It's really expensive, so I decided to make some. And you saw at the beginning of the video where I added, look at that machine. That ninja churns butter in about 3 minutes. It's genius. But anyway, you saw at the beginning of the video where I just took heavy cream and 2 tablespoons of unsweetened yogurt. And you blend that together and you let it ferment overnight somewhere warm. Then you refrigerate it the next day. And after you refrigerate it, you churn it. And I opted to use a nut milk bag there to strain the buttermilk or press the buttermilk out of the butter because cheesecloth is just too porous. So nut milk bags have a much more fine mesh and just make the job much easier. And the milk that I'm straining out of the butter there is the buttermilk. And that's what's left over after you separate the two, the butter from the buttermilk. And as with commercial buttermilk, you can do whatever you would normally do with buttermilk that you would buy. Use it in cakes, pancakes, cornbread, whatever you would desire to. A friend of mine was visiting when I filmed this portion of the video, so you probably hear us talking and laughing in the background. But nevertheless, we move on to the next step, which is washing the butter. When you wash your butter, your water should be cold because that's what's going to help the butter to come together from those soft pieces, and it'll help, the cold water helps to form a more solid piece of butter. And essentially what washing the butter does is it removes any of the buttermilk residue from the butter. And see how I'm pressing it together there to help form the ball, and see how the water is milky? That's just the buttermilk that's left coming out of the butter. If you do not remove the buttermilk, your butter is going to mold faster. So you really want to wash your butter until the water is clear. And for this lump of butter, it took about 3 washings. And I accidentally got one of the ice cubes. See, even when you press it, there's still buttermilk coming out of it. I accidentally got one of the ice cubes stuck in the butter, and I had to press that moisture out as well, so my butter would last longer. I would honestly, and that's my friend helping me get all the any extra butter out of the nut milk bag. I would honestly freeze this butter and pull it out as needed. And then that way you can ensure that it lasts longer. That was the second washing. You can see the water still milky, but more clear than the first washing. And this is the third and final wash. So it takes about 3 washings if you squeeze enough of the buttermilk out of it in the nut bag. Then it should take about 2 or 3 washings.
Okay, but like you said, you don't want to keep turning, squeezing because the butter starts coming through the
bag.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to put too much pressure on it. So now we have our ball of butter. We can throw this out and maybe scrape out. Now it's time for the salting of the butter, and you want to do this while your butter is still soft before you refrigerate it. And if you want to make any compound butters, garlic butter or any flavored butter you may want to make, this is the time to add the flavorings in. I opted just for salt, just to salt the butter, because I could take a piece of it and make a little compound butter for steak or something later on. And you want to mash that in. And you're going to see me take a paper towel a little later on and dab a bit. And that's because I think the ice cube that was caught in the butter was melting. And I also wanted to make sure any of that moisture was not left in my butter as well. And you can see the butter is coming together. And now we want to shape the butter so that we can put it away in the fridge. And I made such a huge lump. If you use 1 quart of heavy cream, it's going to make you about 3/4 of a pound of butter. And I think I used 1.5 quarts, something like that. 1 quart and 3/4. But then you want to spread it out. At least I spread it out. You can shape your butter however you desire, but this was the easiest way for me. And shape it into a roll. And then you're just going to twist it around. Look at that, just like that. Now you have a perfectly, well, not perfectly round, but you have a nice log of butter at this point. And you can go ahead and refrigerate it overnight. And here we go. That's after my butter was refrigerated. Isn't she pretty? And I wanted to taste just the flavor of the butter. So if any of you know anything about Michigan corn, it is really delicious. I typically don't eat too much corn, but I thought this would be a good way to taste my homemade butter. So I melted that butter on that sweet corn. Boy, and when I tell you that was delicious. And I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial of how to make cultured butter, along with the explanation behind it. Let me know if you make butter. I'm probably going to be buying my cultured butter from here on out, but I'll use it sparingly. Like I said, it is expensive. But let me know if you try it. I enjoyed this project. I hope you get something from this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and share, and subscribe. As always, it is free to subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. And thank you for coming back to my kitchen. Thank you for all your support. Have a good day.